Big Mouth made a return to Netflix just 2 days ago. It's an animated show that is a one-of-a-kind on the streaming platform, with characters such as Maurice the Hormone Monster, two best friends Andrew and Nick, and an array of supporting cast members that are heavily involved in the story. As ever, it's expected to be rude, crude, but an extremely funny viewing experience that in a weird way resonates with us all. However, can Season 3 live up to the previous 2 seasons? Well, let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. So without further ado, I'm BrainPilot, and here is Big Mouth Season 3, Is It Worth Watching? Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers, so watch with caution. The story. The story in Season 3 developed on from the previous 2 seasons that we've watched. We get a lot of the main characters return, and the pubescent teenagers are still finding themselves episode by episode. In this season particularly, it didn't feel as heavily revolved around sex when compared to what the other 2 were. There's more of an understanding of the characters and a lot more to play with from that perspective. There were obviously a ton of sexual references, visually and audibly, and it came with lots of thoughts that we all had when we were that age. However, it didn't feel as in your face as much as what it had done. Whenever the Hormone Monster is around, you know there's going to be some vile humour, and he definitely delivered this season. I don't feel this show would be the same without him, or his dicks. Even they were a lot more involved in this season, and they got referenced a whole lot more. They even had their own arc in a story, which is something that I never thought we'd see or would even be possible. As well as the sexual side of the show, Big Mouth this season tackled a ton of other topics such as the social structure and popularity hierarchy in school, Andrew's interest in incestual activities with his cousin, which was hilarious, the power of the cloud, which again had repercussions on Andrew, a deep dive into Duke Ellington and the backstory of how he became who he was, Matthew's first date with a guy, Jay's openness about his sexuality, the cast of Queer Eye transforming Coach Steve, the addiction everybody has with their phones, and even the final episode being based around everyone being a superhero, which included the betrayal that Nick does towards Andrew, resulting in them not being friends anymore. They were all great episodes that consisted of amazing stories. It's hard to think that all of that managed to fit into just 10 half-hour episodes. Well, it did, and some, and none of the episodes even dipped. The pace only increased as the season went on, and it never felt like it was slow or boring. It's hard to produce a 10-episode show where the story doesn't dip in the middle, but Nick Kroll and Andrew Goldberg managed to do so. I would say that story-wise, it was just as good as Season 2, if not better. We got to learn more about the characters, the world that they live in, and we got to see relationships get tested, which is something that I don't feel as though we really got to see on this scale before in the show. Nick and Andrew are like brothers, so I'm intrigued to see where they end up picking it up in Season 4. Jessie is going to be moving away, and Missy, well, she's in pieces. The show only finished in a good way for Jay, so who knows where the story can possibly go from here. The possibilities are endless. The characters. The characters in this show are essentially what makes it so great. Each individual in the main cast brings something unique, whether that be Maurice or Missy. Each character balances each other out, and they all provide their own sense of humour that together makes Big Mouth great. Andrew. Andrew is one of the main characters that you follow in the show. He is one part of the 2 leads. I feel as though this season we got to see a different side to both Andrew and Nick. With Andrew, I feel as though throughout the whole of Season 3 you could tell the incidents from My Furry Valentine had affected him. He wasn't as confident as what he'd been in the previous 2 seasons, and I feel as though this played a part in it. We see him go on multiple journeys through unplugging, to also having incestuous thoughts about his cousin, and to then taking the moral high ground at the end, and choosing to cut ties with Nick due to the fact that he betrayed him for nothing. The character has matured, and his relationship with Maurice is some of the best screen time that there is. He's a well thought out character that is extremely relatable at many times. Also, his alter ego as Fartboy is extremely hilarious. Nick. Nick is the counterpart to Andrew, and he's another character that felt as though he had moved on from the previous 2 seasons. There was this newfound confidence that he seemed to have, and I feel as though it was something that I'd never really seen in this character before. I feel as though the story focused heavily around Andrew, and a lot of what he got up to. However, a big part of Nick's story was being addicted to his mobile phone, which did make for great viewing, becoming more popular, cooler, and also kissing Missy, which in turn betrayed his trust with Andrew and cost him a friendship. He's still painfully awkward at points, and the fact he has a female hormone monster does sum him up. He's a great character, but I do have to say I find Andrew a lot funnier. Maurice. Maurice is the character that I think is the best in the show. He makes me laugh whenever he's on screen. His tone of voice, the comedic timing, the things he says. It never fails to make me laugh. He's a big part of what makes the show so great, and I love watching him on screen. He's a little of what everybody has in their mind, and he's represented on screen perfectly. I don't think they could have made him any better than what he is. Connie. Connie is a character that has grown on me since her introduction. She's never quite had me like Maurice, but this season, I feel as though I got to understand her personality more and see the more friendship side to Jessie that she has. Before, she was just a horny monster, but in this season, we almost got to see a more human side to her, and it's something that I feel goes in the character's favour. She bounces off Maurice well, and this character was delivered perfectly in Season 3. Jessie. Jessie is the main female lead in the show, and she's definitely likeable. I was unsure of her in Season 1, but like Connie, she's grown on me a lot. She battles with mental illness, and it's highlighted in this season as well as the previous, and it's handled well. She's the more sensible one in the show, and she comes to terms with her body and experiments with herself. She's relatively not that well clued up when it comes to her body, and as it was mentioned in this season, she never really finds the love that everybody seems to have. She is the grounded character that this show needs, that goes through a lot in her personal life when compared to the others, but she always puts on a brave face, and that's something that I like about this character. Jay. Jay is a mad character. He's all over the place. He tries to have sex with anything that he possibly can. The scenes in the start of the season when he gets with the turkey are absolutely hilarious. We didn't get as much magic or sex with objects this season, but I feel as though we got more quality time to understand the character and find out why he behaves like he does. He suffers with ADHD, and we see once he takes his medication, he's on track a lot more. However, that isn't really who the character is, and he's at his best when he's having sex with objects, doing magic, and having a dirtier mind than Maurice, which is hard. Missy. Missy is a character that also goes on a dramatic journey throughout the 3 seasons. She's the girl who doesn't really break rules until the musical episode in this season. In my opinion, I'm not really a massive fan of her. I just don't really feel as though she brings a ton to the table when compared to the other main characters. Final thoughts. Overall, I would say that this show is one of the best animated shows out there across any platform or network at the moment. It's got its own unique style that mirrors some of the great comedies that we know and love. There is never a dull moment in the show, and whenever it's on, I know that I'm going to be in pieces laughing my head off at just how far this show pushes the boundaries. Maurice makes the show for me, and without him, it wouldn't be the same. Each episode managed to deliver a story that was well thought out and had you glued to the screen. It's a light-hearted watch where you don't want to take your eyes off of the screen. There's a lot to pick up in Season 4, if Netflix decide to renew it, which I think they will, and I can't wait to see more of the innovative humour that never fails to make me laugh. Go and watch this show. It's the best season so far, and I think it's the best animated show on Netflix. Big Mouth Season 3 is definitely worth watching. Before you go, make sure you head over to my Patreon. Over there you can get your hands on some exclusive content that's just for you. I've recently restructured it. Take a look and see what you think. What did you think of Season 3 of Big Mouth? Did you enjoy it? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to say thank you to my patrons B Cypher, Lucy Nathanson, and Fernie.